Wrestle Dream. We're going to get into Wrestle Dream. We're going to get into that main event.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, I should say, welcome to the No Contest Wrestling Podcast. I am the heel that you love to hate, O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Hey, yo. It's the T, the double O, the J-I-double-G. Too jiggy here from the great Run 8. The hill you love to hate, O'Shea Jackson. Just repping the valley. You know
absolutely, bro. I'll never leave her. I'll never leave her. The parking is too good. And, you know, we have, obviously today we have our guest, Swerve Strickland. He talked to us a little bit about, you know, the decisions he had to make in Wrestle Dream. And we will get to Wrestle Dream because that is the talk of the town. And you know, I got my opinion on the whole thing. And it's some words I got to get out that I got to let the public know how I feel about it. But first, TJ, a lot of wrestling has happened since we've been gone.
A lot of wrestling happened. You know, we had NXT happen yesterday. Just a quick rundown of that. The Don Tony D'Angelo, he and Obafemi are going to meet for that North American title. First of all, I don't know how anyone beats Obafemi, to be honest with you. It's like Godzilla and King Kong combined into one man. Yeah. But they have a Halloween Havoc match coming out, and you don't like it because it's tables, ladders, and scares.
I'm not feeling the table, ladders, and scares.
Because we don't know what the scare is.
Yeah, you know, anybody knows me. If it gets too gimmicky, I start to get a little shaky. But I know with those two giants, dude, it's hard not to have a banger.
Right. And then we had the much anticipated debut of Stephanie Vacour.
What a monster.
Man, I wouldn't mind her just beating me up.
You know, the charisma through the roof.
Ren Sinclair and her, they put on a really decent match yesterday. And then, of course, NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade, they came down, jumped Stephanie. In comes Julia. We kind of figured this was going to happen. It's going to set up a tag team match at Halloween Havoc. You know, their two biggest new stars coming into the company against two of their mainstays. It should be pretty interesting.
Absolutely. I got to start next to that one. I'm excited. You know, the two have been teased online for so long. Obviously, they have their rivalry, so to see them pairing up, right? It's going to be huge.
It's like if Brett and Shawn became a tag team. Yeah. Which, by the way, not to cut off base, I think about this all the time. If the Montreal Screwjob hadn't happened and Bret Hart leaves, you ever think about the tag? Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart eventually are going to win the tag team championships again. That's how it always happens. So we were deprived a little Bret and Shawn run, like many more matches of them together, and you know, it just made me think about that when we brought up Cora and Roxanne. Not to put Cora and Roxanne on that plateau yet, but that's where the WWE is hoping they can get to. Absolutely. Also, you know, real quick, Lexis King defeated Ora Mensa. Just a shout out to Lexis King with the illest beard game on the planet right now.
It. You need to be put under the jail.
I'm saying, my man, I got to mess with it. Like the barber is precise, the beard's on point.
It's hilarious.
You're never going to see anyone else walking down the street with it. Shout out to Lexis King. Then we had the Betty Crocker match of the year, the one you got to see. You got to see Nikita Lyons come back. She took on Lola Vice.
And I swear we professional.
And then Jada Parker came down. And let me just say, man, I don't know what's going on there. Yeah. That's going to be a 3-woman match coming up. I don't know what they're going to do.
What's that called, brother? It's box office.
That's box office right there. Office. Nikita Lyons, Lola Vice, Miss Parker.
Yeah, Miss Parker.
Yeah, I'm there for that one, okay? Mm-hmm. And then, you know, we had, you go Ethan Page. He's going to get a rematch against Trick Williams for the NXT title as he defeated Wesley and Javon Evans yesterday. That was a little NXT recap. And now we move on to Wrestle Dream from this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Wrestle Dream. You know, obviously, in honor of our guest, Swerve told us that he had some decisions to make as far as where he is going with the trajectory of his career. And thankfully, he chose Nana. He's not he's not turning his back on his family.
As you saw, you know, MVP.
Yeah.
Shelton Benjamin, they came out, tried to strong arm Swerve a little bit. You can't strong arm Swerve. No, Swerve really did a great job of making us, like, not letting us know which way he was going to go. Yeah. He talked about the advice that MVP
laid out the pros and cons.
Yeah, MVP gave him his match against Shelton. He talked about what Prince Nana done for him, but he also said Nana does some things that he don't like selling weed to high school kids in parking lots.
That was crazy.
I can't believe. Well, you remember Hangman Page said he was going to beat up Nana and steal his weed, and nothing made Nana more mad than when Page said that.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
snitching is wild,
right? But ultimately, Swerve said, "Look, I don't turn my back on family, Nana's family. He's sticking with Prince Nana.
Yeah.
We're going to see the Hurt Syndicate, which means more than likely Bobby Lashley's going to be coming up very soon. So I'm interested to see which way this is going to go."
Absolutely. It's, it makes me a little nervous because I know, on one side, I don't see the company wanting somebody that they're bringing in to look too defeated. But at the same time, how can you go against Swerve? So it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, all the smart wrestling fans out there, we're going to come up with our predictions and all types of nonsense. But all we can do is sit and wait.
Right. Then you had the Glamour Mariah May. She defended her AEW Women's Championship against Willow Nightingale.
Yeah.
I know you were probably rooting for Willow.
I'm a Willow. I'm a Willow guy, man. She just has such great energy. That Statlander match really, I feel like, bumped her into a new tier. But yeah, Mariah May, she's just such a great villain.
Yeah.
Such a great villain.
And as a huge Tony Storm fan, first of all, shout out to Tony Storm landing #1 in Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 250 women's wrestlers, timeless Tony Storm.
I think Willow was 9.
Tony Storm is the tits, and we can say that because if you know her character, that's what she says.
That's what she says.
So shout out Mariah May, though, the ultimate villain. That beatdown that she did put on Tony Storm was one of the most ruthless and vicious beatdowns, especially from a women's American wrestling point of view, that we've ever seen. When she was just beating her with that heel in the head, that was props to both of those women. For
cinematic, you might say.
It was cinema. They went there with it.
Yeah.
It was great. Then we had the TNT Championship match. Scapegoat Jack Perry took out Katsuyori Shibata. I got to be honest with you, as a longtime New Japan fan,
be honest with me.
My boys know that I watch wrestling with. I love Shibata so much, and I'm going to talk about him as this podcast progresses. There's matches of his you need to see. You need to watch from 2017, Shibata versus Okada for the New Japan World Championship. It was a match that Shibata almost died after.
Wow.
He almost died after the match. His career he took off about 2-3 years till he got medically cleared. Okay. Now he's back. He's in AEW. He's doing his thing. But Shibata he's a killer, man, and he's a dominant force. So I really do kind of hate to see him lose matches. But the way Jack Perry beat him, he had him in a sleeper, kind of fell back, got the kind of cheap 1, 2, 3. That's the kind of loss I guess I can accept. I just love Shibata, and I hate to see him take any type of L.
Right.
Takeshita.
Man. Whoa, I didn't expect that.
Beats the Bravo, Ospreay, beats Ricochet, wins the International Championship. Big time move for Takeshita. I think he's a star in the making.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ospreay.
Dude is a tank.
He's a tank. Ospreay can survive a loss. You don't want Ricochet taking a loss this early. It might have been the right move.
It's the way to do it. Setting up a story. Also setting up, obviously, a revenge angle for Ospreay, whose intensity is going to be great. Anybody who follows me on Twitter knows how I feel about Fletcher. I think that dude is the man. And so, they're going to put on a series of bangers to settle this out because, you hit me with a screwdriver.
And if you didn't see that, Kyle Fletcher did eventually turn his back on Will Ospreay, hit him with the screwdriver, and that's what led to Takeshita getting the win. Kyle Fletcher, he's only 25 years old, man.
Nasty.
Future is so bright for this dude. It's unbelievable. And, had a grudge match, Darby Allin.
Yeah.
He beat Brody King in a banger.
Gave each other the samurai respect.
Brody King's another one who, look at the guy, man.
I
feel like Brody King should be a little bit more elevated than he is.
Yeah.
Hopefully that comes with some more time. But him and Darby did his thing. The Young Bucks, and I got to bring them up because they had maybe my favorite tweet of the week where somebody was saying, we really thought that Private Party was going to beat the Young Bucks for the tag team championships, and the Bucks responded with, "That doesn't work for us, brother." No matter what you think about the Bucks, I like the Bucks, man. They're cool with me.
Everybody knows that Punk is my friend, and everybody knows my feeling about the Bucks.
I like to think Punk is my friend too. At this point,
that was funny, bro. That tweet,
that tweet was amazing.
Funny.
So bravo to the EVPs, for doing their thing. And then, my boy Mark Briscoe, who I love. By the way, another thing we want to educate you guys. Do yourself a favor, it gets time. Go to YouTube, just watch some Briscoe brother promos, because for as great as anyone you think is on the mic, the late Jay Briscoe, his brother Mark Briscoe, on the mic. I will put them up there with anybody. They had some great tag team matches over the years. They had some great promos. Like I said, it's just sad to see that Jay's no longer with us, but I love the fact that Mark's carrying on the Briscoe brother name.
Yeah.
He beat Chris Jericho. He retained the Ring of Honor World TV Champion. All of that brought us up to the main event.
Yes.
For the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, 3-time champion Jon Moxley going up against the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. Go ahead, let it out. I'm gonna say mine second.
What do we say about this match? You know, on one hand, being a Bryan Danielson fan, and I love Bryan Danielson, he did say his time was coming to an end. Yeah. And you have to respect that, and you have to be aware that this is probably coming to an end. I think what happened in Wembley Stadium, him winning the belt over Swerve, getting the celebration, I truly believe that Tony Khan, and I could be wrong, and one day Tony's going to tell us that because he'll be here. I truly believe Tony Khan did that for the fans.
Yeah.
He did that to give us a happy moment with Bryan Danielson. You get the championship, you get the pomp and the circumstance. He gets to put that on the incredible resume.
Baby in the front.
We get to see Bree. We get to see Birdie, you know. We get to see his boy and Buddy. And that was for the fans. And I really believe what happened at Wrestle Dream was probably Bryan Danielson's idea. I believe probably that's how he wanted to go out. And it was a tough watch. It was a great match, violent, not as bloody as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But at the end, Moxley chokes out Danielson, puts him to sleep, even though I think the ref kind of rang the bell a little soon for my particular taste, but you're in there to protect the performers. And then all hell broke loose after. It was almost not quite as bad as Brock ending the streak, but when the ref rang the bell, AEW's production was so great at that point. They didn't hit Moxley's music. You kind of let it sink in, and I think the whole crowd kind of felt it. I'm sitting at home watching it, and I was just like,
yeah, dude. And that's what I want to get into. When it happened, when the bell rang and it is dead silent in there, they pan out, no music is playing.
And you're like, did this really happen?
Yes, that was the moment. That was the, oh my God, that was the turning of the tide. Everything, any movie cliche you want to call it, that was the moment right then and there. And, you know, obviously the Wembley thing happened, and in my mind, being a Swerve fan, you know, everybody knows I was talking smack on Twitter. You know, thank you, Bryan. You know, it's over. They're going to send him out in front of the biggest crowd that could clap for him, in front of his family. It's going to be beautiful. Then he won. It's like, oh, all right. Then they're not about to do this to him in his hometown, are they? And then Washington, his home state, I should say. Yeah. So he takes the L, and yes, the controversy right now is about what happened after. Yeah. You know, the bag over the head, tying up Darby, the Wheeler Yuta,
the backstabbing, betrayal.
Yeah, the betrayal.
Wheeler Yuta, you're rat. You're from Philly, and I could have suspected something like that.
I'll say this, because I love Bryan Danielson. I hated it, but I love that they did it. I love that they did it because we love Bryan so much. Yeah, we as fans want to see the wave. We want to do the thank you, Bryan. We expect that movie ending because we know that he deserves it. But what Bryan also deserves is to go out in a way that helps his boys. Yeah. He helps his boy. He's putting his boys on a path right now. Mox, when MJF was a heel, yes, he's a heel. Yes, he's saying this, that, and third to the crowd. But he's just so charismatic and so cool like that you end up loving him. Yeah. Swerve, same thing.
Yes.
Hangman has every right to hate you, Swerve.
Yep.
But like, you so dope that like the fans can't help but gravitate toward you.
Yes.
Moxley is a heel now that is fueled with hate. Nobody is happy about that unless you one of them Moxley stands. Nobody.
And I don't think Moxley's even happy because Moxley's whole story is something's coming.
Yes.
And he's trying to prevent it from happening. And by any means necessary, he needed to have that belt. He needed to be one on the call sheet, as we like to say. We don't know what's coming. Something's coming. But Moxley made it a point. Like, I don't think he necessarily enjoyed it, but in his mind, he did what was necessary. Now, by doing this, I don't know if you can never say he can never be a babyface again. But for right now, taking out Bryan Danielson in the way that the BCC did, that cemented them as heels for a long time.
And you've put so many people by Bryan being that sacrificial lamb. I'm gonna call him a sacrificial goat because that's what he is. You've put so many people into such a good pathway now for what fans are always complaining at AEW about, which is story. Now, who's going to step up?
Yep.
Who's going to step up? We have the biggest villainy that we've had in the company that I can even think of. We've made the big bad now. Yeah. Now it's on you, Darby. Who's going to step up? Claudio, you got to get answered to. Pac, you need to get answered to. Wheeler, you have to give us something. It's all these things now that go into Mox, the head of the snake. Who is going to step up? And you've given so many AEW stars now a path into some juicy television to the point where now we have to watch Dynamite. You have to see what happens. And that is what I'm guilty of complaining of it. And now I got to give credit where credit is due.
Okay.
They gave me the movie that I have been dying for, and it's time to see. Daniel Garcia, you were out there too, but now you got to deal with MJF being back and Scapegoat. So now we got some juicy television, and it might have hurt, but that feeling is what the job is. They were supposed to make you feel distaste. Now see what somebody's going to do about it. Because it can't be just waiting for Goku and Kenny Omega. I need to see somebody step up, and I'm excited. It took balls, what you guys did, and I applaud you for it.
No doubt, no doubt. And especially when you take out, quite frankly, maybe the most beloved wrestler of the last 15, 20 years, and you take him out in such
He's
a
everybody's
fashion
uncle. We love him.
Where people are literally upset that you put a plastic bag over the man's head and you tried to suffocate him to death. Like,
that's attempt.
Look, you did it on the street. You're catching a case, right? Yeah. Where's this going? Like you said, what was Jon Moxley's plan? Is he really seeing that somebody or something's coming there to try to take over AEW? I'm invested now, man.
I'm invested.
Was I happy? Look, I'm going to be very honest with you about the things I like and I don't like. I like the BCC. The Marina Shafir thing, to me...
Oh, yeah, she got to get it, too.
I don't... For me, I don't know if it works yet, just because she wasn't presented as this unbeatable force when she was in the women's division. And yet now they bring her over to this storyline where she's just murking men. Just, choking out men.
Stockholm Syndrome is strong.
Right. So to me, and I know Marina has the background in MMA and mixed martial arts, so it makes sense. Size-wise, though, to me, like someone like Camille would have maybe been a little more imposing when you have the bigger woman. But then again, when you have someone who's normal size who can still, rough you off like Marina does. So the more I'm talking about it, I can tell that the more I'm like, okay, I think I just need to get it out.
Sit with it a little.
I had to let it marinate a little bit, but that's another thing I'm interested in. They're trying to make her maybe China 2.0, which is a huge task to try to undertake. But let's see what happens. Man.
You got to see. You got to let them. Oh my God, I'm saying this. You got to let them cook. You got to let them cook a little bit, and it's got to. It has to end the right way, because right now what you guys have laid out is some juicy. Boy, it's juicy right now. People are mad as hell. Use it for cash.
No doubt, right?
Let's get it.
Was that saying controversy creates cash?
Yeah, like, dude, it's here. It's here, and it's not, the stove not gonna get no hotter.
And I'm not gonna believe that's the last we're gonna see of the Dragon.
That full time BS. Y'all got me. Y'all got me. Somebody had to correct me.
I'm not ready for that to be the end of Bryan Danielson, one of the
You saw how they did Sting. They not gonna do Bryan like that for the end. Nah, they not gonna do that.
Let's hope not.
Fingers crossed. But anyway, now that I'm off my soapbox, I know shock, awe. We have an interview.
I thought you hated AEW.
Listen, bro.
Shay.
I just speak from the heart, and sometimes let's go piss people off. Sometimes you might agree, but I got to be me. That's all everybody else is taking.
That's why we're here in front of that.
Yeah,
in front
no
of
contest wrestling,
in front of you.
bro. But we have an interview to get to. We appreciate those who have stayed with us yapping this long.
Yeah.
But,
by the way, I got that on a few comments. Like, why are they yapping for 9 minutes? Because we got a podcast. We got to introduce ourselves to y'all, man.
You want us to just call and FaceTime people for y'all?
Come on.
Anyway, so the Swerve Strickland interview that we get into today, you're going to hear some great stories. You're going to hear about his time in Lucha Underground. You're going to hear, what it's like growing up a kid in the military, in the Army base. And you're going to get an insight on what were the conversations with him and his childhood, with his childhood friends that got him to be the Swerve Strickland that we know and love. Yep. And even kind of where he got his moveset, a couple of films where he got his moves.
Films that might surprise you. One in particular, there was a move in that movie that he'll talk about, which I saw. I was like, that looks like his finisher.
Yeah, man.
Right there. And then we also talk about his time in NXT. Yeah. Swerve tells us about wanting to be a Triple H guy, kind of tells us how one becomes a Triple H guy and so who some of those people are, and so it's a great time with him.
A slight disclaimer. We understand and we appreciate everyone who comes back for these broken up interviews.
Yeah.
Now, not every one of them will be broken up, but we are wrestling fans talking to wrestlers. I don't know about y'all, but that excites you a little bit. And we are blessed and we are thankful for all guests who come in and sit with us. So those who will give us their time, it would be a crime against you guys and ourselves not to give them as much as they want. Yeah. There'll be some guys who can only give us 30. They might be some that can only give us 15. But if somebody's willing to give us two fans off the couch some time, we accept it and we bring it to you guys. So this will be broken up again. Do not expect it for every guest. But now I think I've done enough yapping. Yeah.
Well, also before we let them go, let them know. Make sure you follow us.
Oh yeah,
No Contest Wrestling Podcast on Instagram.
Yeah,
on Twitter we're at There's No Contest because every combination of our title was taken. So There's No Contest on Twitter. You can also find all of our videos on the Rich Eisen Show YouTube page. We're almost 1 million strong there. People are like, why don't you guys have your own page? Well, why would we start a page from zero when we got a page that got damn near 1 million followers?
It's a method to the madness.
Come on
it's
now.
A method to the madness.
Think about it.
So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's our interview with the great Swerve Strickland. What's going on, y'all? It's the heel that you love to hate, O'Shea Jackson Jr. here with my man TJ Jefferson. And as promised, it is the rest of our Swerve Strickland interview. Ladies and gentlemen, the Staples Center himself, Swerve Strickland. Bro.
Since we lost it, I'll bring it back.
Bro, I don't know. All right. So if you're a wrestling fan, it's a cardinal rule to not headbutt a Samoan.
Yeah, everybody knows
the new up-to-date one is don't staple Swerve.
Nah, why would you do
that? Bro,
that?
why do you use staples like sensu beans, man? What's going on?
It's a staple of my... I don't know. It was just something, the concept I came up with like a long, I would say back like MLW. It's like, it's an instrument used to punish.
Yeah.
It's just like over and over and over again. And most people it works. One staple's enough for a lot of people. Me, I've been around the block. It's like I can walk through them now, and then but it's also like one of the things. Is like you see this item. It's an everyday item. It's something that would be around the area of a ring. Mm. So I don't bring out a cactus under the ring. I'm like, why would that be there? No, it's like something that industrial staple would be around the ring. That's very logical item. Yeah. Mm. But it's also like, you look at the sledgehammer, you automatically know who you think of. Yeah. You look at like the black baseball bat, you think of Sting and all that stuff, or Jericho. You look at like certain items. I wanted somebody to look at
a
that
sock with a face on it.
That was under the ring. Yeah. Like if there's a sock under the ring, somebody needs to be fired.
Something's going on.
HR needs to be
show y'all running here.
That needs to be reported. But like a staple gun is like something that's like now synonymous to me. That and a cinder block.
Yeah,
those two things. It's like all right, Swerve fans are like, so it's just finding those little things that are like everyday, not everyday items, but they're very common items. They're not like hard to find, but if you see them, you automatically think back to me in that moment, and you'll get like the flashbacks of like either traumatic or like, man, I remember when I was watching this, I had a great moment watching that. So it's one of those things I wanted to just implement in like my whole character, creating the most dangerous man in AEW.
It definitely is a sign of troubling times for your opponent when I see them pull out. Why are you using that on him?
Now syringes are in that now.
Okay. That is where, because me and my sister were watching. We were watching the match, and we were like, man, when is just gonna just do it, bro? Like where the gun at? Like this is getting this is crazy, and then
bring out the
syringe, and I've seen my fair share of horror films, but it's just something about watching it live,
right?
Where it's just like, it just makes you wince and all that. What is your thought process the night before a match like that?
How do you prepare yourself?
You don't. I keep it empty. I like to empty my whole mind. I want to like not think about it at all, because with the second you start thinking too much, you're overthinking, and like even with like like when you're on the set on acting, if you overthink, you're not really feeling. You're not making a choice. You gotta make a choice with dynamics where you're going to go with something. You don't want to overthink too much. You want to naturally like, this feels right, and this is where I'm going to go with it, and you stick to it. And you run it. This is like the same realm, but now you got to add in the danger elements of what could go wrong. And you don't want to think about what could go wrong. You want to think everything is like, I got it in control. This is going to be cake. There's like this will feel something, but it's not going to feel worse. You're not going to try to like, I don't want to think about the worst outcomes. You just think about like the action itself. Yeah. So my for me, I'm like on a video game, mindlessly just playing. You're not really thinking. You're just like letting your like fingers just go across and like just do your actions and stuff like that, and then wake up. And then you kind of want that blank slate when you wake up too, And for me, those elements come into play with like a syringe and things like that. I think back to like horror movies that made you uncomfortable. Like horror's always been like a underlying tone in my character, which you wouldn't think about with like most black wrestlers. We're very flashy, we're very shiny, we're charismatic, we're athletic. I'm like, we're all those great things, but like, what's that in addition to? For me, it's like, I'm not a horror character, but I have horror elements about my character that I bring into play. Like a Candyman, there's horror elements that bring it into play that still stick with reality. Right. Like, going around Cabrini Green and like the homeless and like, oh, you heard about the stories of Candyman, right? Yeah. It's like, that's a horror undertone to like still like a real thing, a real situation, live setting. So I was like, okay, how do I take like a Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man, Simon Phoenix in the ring? Because Low Small Movements is based off of his fighting from that, and then a Blade element, but also a New Jack City, but still add horror to all that. And then then when I went into the coffin, I added a little bit more Sweeney Todd into that. So like, and once again, those small little items, there's trinkets, are like a barber blade and stuff like that. Like, it's an instrument not used for pain, but it is. Right. The purpose isn't to hurt and kill, there. But it can. And so those are where those other elements came through. It's where the eyes started getting darker, because like revenge is on my mind. The task is on my mind. I won't rest till I get it. And that's what I want you to feel and see that with me. Something's not right about him, but I can't put my finger on it. And we're not going to tell you what.
He a little off.
Yeah. So there's a lot of thought process going to that. And so I was like, okay, how do I go a little deeper? Then the next opponent, I'm like, okay, how do I sink a little deeper? Then the next opponent, okay, how do I sink a little bit deeper? And I just push it and push it and push it until like people feel whether it's good or uncomfortable or bad about it. But I need you to feel. Yeah. I need you to feel. And then sometimes you're going to feel different about one opponent than the other. Like Christian was supposed to have a different feel to my character than Hangman was. Like Will Ospreay is a different feel because I like Will. Yeah. Like that's the only opponent that I actually like Will Ospreay a lot. But when it comes to this championship,
yeah,
nothing is above that. Friendship, my love for him and his family, nothing's above that. So I got to get a different feel out of that. And then like Bryan Danielson, I love Bryan. He's an inspiration to me. We come from the same, we're Washington boys. Yeah. We're, there's pride in that. But when it comes to this championship, your legacy doesn't mean shit to me.
Yeah.
My legacy means more than your legacy because you're going out. I'm going up.
His legacy's already been built.
It's been done. Now, I just want to take that and add to my legacy as I'm climbing, and so all these have to have different meanings and feelings. And so I can't be just the same guy in all of them. No, I need to have you feel here, and then I had to have you feel here. And so a lot of people argue, like, was he face? Is he heel? No, I'm just Swerve.
Right.
I'm Swerve.
And that's... just hearing you break that down right now is kind of what makes you stand out. It's what makes you box office. It's because you're thinking about your character, not necessarily just in a linear way. Yeah. It's just, it's more of a 3-dimensional thought process.
Right. And it's real. It's what people go through all the time. Like imagine us hanging out and we all cool, but you bring that friend that I'm not cool with him, and he's in our group. Am I going to act the same way with y'all when he's here?
No,
right?
No, my whole mood's going to change. It's going to be off a little bit.
Yeah,
there's maybe things that I don't like about him that now carries over my energy to you guys, and I love you guys. Like that. Maybe like
maybe we're changed the way we act when he.
Like that guy. Like so, that's how like altercations should come up. That's how like that tension in the room should build. Same way on television. Just be, what I mean? Like, and like, that's why certain people make me act a certain different way.
Yeah.
Like there's certain people that I am compassionate for. Certain people I'm not. Sometimes I'm not compassionate about Nana because there's certain things that I'm like, why the hell did you do that? Like who gave you the authority to speak on my name? Like while I wasn't here, do you know who you answer to? But other times it's like we did it, we accomplished something, triumph. We're here, we made this happen. So people switch on people all the time.
Yeah,
like for whatever reason.
So you brought up Wesley Snipes earlier, Simon Phoenix from Demolition Man. You said you took some stuff from that. Can you dive a little deeper? Like what did you pull from? Because I can understand the Blade thing. The Demolition Man thing. I'm thinking right now about the way he fought and his movements, and now I'm like, okay, like what did you take?
So me, it was like that was back with NXT when I think I sustained an injury. I think I had torn my meniscus or something like that. And I was off TV for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. It was so short that it wasn't really noticeable. Like some people think I never got hurt, but I was off TV for 3 or 4 weeks, and I went to an NXT taping, and I was just like, I was unhappy that I just wasn't on this. I'm like, it's almost like one of those competitive things. Like you put this on, not me.
It's like the Tom Brady thing when he came out on the shop and they were like, he was talking about a team he wanted to sign with. And he was like, you're going to keep that MF over me? You're going to pick him over me?
And you got to have that. You got to have that. You're like, it's nothing against who's getting the opportunity, but it's like, I should feel like I'm better than that. I should feel like I deserve the starting job on any team, and that's how I felt. I'm like, I need to be a starter. I don't like this. So I approached Trips and I was just like, yo, we had several conversations months before, and I've said this in other interviews, but I was like, I kept asking him, like, what do I got to do to be one of your guys? What do I got to do to be one of your guys? And you can tell who the guys are, it was
how can you tell?
The people that get in a lot of extra multiple segments, getting the bigger matches, getting a lot more talking segments, getting more time to flesh out things, getting more backstage, all this packages and all that. You could tell the pageantry is just going up on certain people. You could just tell who's really getting the rocket and the attention. They're always main eventing, they're always on the live shows, I'm like, who's to say I can't do that? Right. You've hired me because I did that. but now you're saying I can't do it here. So I was nice about it, and I was like patient about it. I was like, what I got to do to be one of your guys? I had those conversations 3 times, 3 different months. And then when that taping happened, I was like, why am I not one of your guys?
Yeah.
And I pressed him on it. And then, like, coming back from that, I was like, you saw the red hair change. You saw the grill come in. I started wrestling Leon Ruff and things like that. And then, like, William Regal was like, I like this. I don't know what it is, but I like it. Yeah. And that's where, like, the Demolition Man, Simon Phoenix, it was like, he was a character that's, like, so eccentric. He's a bad guy doing bad things, but I can't keep my eyes off of him. I want to see what he does next. He, like, even his fighting was very charismatic. Like, him, like, remember him, like, trying to, like, tapping on the computer, and he's just like, and like, he's like, and the guy, he's just like playing around with people because he know he's dead. He's just like, or like saying things before he does it, you know, like just playing around. Like, I'm like, I like that. I want to toy with my opponent because I know they can't beat me. I have them. So that's where, like, the Leon Ruff was like a very good experimental stage for that. It's like, and some people don't even remember that I lost the first match with me and Leon Ruff. It was 4 minutes long and I lost. But people don't remember that because the character was just so eccentric. We wanted to see the
character.
They wanted to see where he went next. And I was like, got it.
Bingo.
And that's where I just started playing with things. Like, and that's where I got into a pocket that they couldn't control it. They didn't know how to, and they couldn't maneuver it. They couldn't put their strings on it because it was not their creation, it's mine. And now, so the only way to properly use it was to come to me for it. And that's where I kind of like came through in the back door to get my push with Hit Row.
Right.
So it was like a whole mind trick, but it was like, no, I know this will work. And I have to be confident in the fact that I know what I'm doing, and you can only get this from me in my mind.
A lesson that my pops taught me when I was starting my own career, because naturally people had their own idea of who I was and what I was going to bring. Like, you know, you're a rapper's son. They think I'm coming to work 20 deep and like just the whole just BS. But I always wanted to, you know, keep my head down and just like, you know, do my job, do what's asked of me, don't cause no issues. But then after a while, when you start to see things moving around you that you're like, okay, like, where's my pat on the back? Where do I fit in? My dad taught me the squeaky wheel always gets the oil. Yeah. So you got to speak up, bro. You got to be loud. Like, hey, so you going.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah, you Never. Going and you know, speaking up, you know, that obviously led to your success. Now, in all forms of entertainment, it is about the right place, right time, the right role. You know, it's just that's where success happens. What moment, if you can pinpoint a moment that if it goes another way, we don't get the Swerve that we have now? Like, I think about when Austin cut the 316 promo. If he don't do that like that, who knows if we get the Stone Cold that we know and love.
What if Michael Hayes, when Stone Cold goes to the hospital after getting kicked in the mouth, has to get 16 or whatever stitches, he comes back, Michael Hayes is like, hey, did you hear what Jake Roberts said? He cut a biblical promo on you. What if Michael Hayes doesn't tell him that?
Yeah.
Because he didn't know. What if that doesn't happen? You don't get Austin 316.
Man, there's like, I probably have like 20 of those in like 20 different instances. It's not like one. Man, I would say, if I had to guess one, it was just like, a lot of people like to pinpoint it in one area, but I would say the Battle Royal at Double or Nothing. If it doesn't come down to me and Orange Cassidy, I don't like spark the thing with Tony being like, he made this really amazing. Yeah. Let's do it again. You know, I don't spark that, just like that little idea in Tony Khan's mind. But like through the office from talks, I heard it was me and Tanahashi on a Collision. And when Tanahashi was like, it was me and him. It was going right into Forbidden Door, because I didn't do Forbidden Door, the main show, on the second Forbidden Door. Like we were going back and forth, and he was about to hit High Fly Flow, but he slips off. and I run up and I start fighting him up. Boom, 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 and he like knocks me off and he hits me in high fly flow and wins. And that was the moment Tony was like, I can trust him in anything.
That's huge.
I can trust him with anybody and anything. And that might be what saved like the New Japan relationship with AEW. It might have been because he became the president like very soon after that. Yeah. But he gets hurt.
Yeah.
All that goes away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All of it. Yeah.
So there's that. Like, and then shortly after that, I started wrestling a lot of the veterans. I was like me and RBD, me and Jeff Hardy, me and Billy Gunn, me and Sting. He was like, Swerve can make it work. Swerve can do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, bring it on. Bring on the task, please. Like, I'm only wrestling my heroes.
Yeah.
I don't lose nothing.
I was just about to ask, like who?
LeVar Ball said, even when I lose, I win.
Yeah. Exactly. And you got to have that in wrestling. That works tremendously. Even when I lose, I have to win.
Yeah.
Like,
you've seen, think about the matches we've seen wrestlers lose.
Yeah.
And yet become bigger stars. By Austin, for example, WrestleMania loses to Bret Hart. He walks out of there. He's a superstar now. So, that makes sense.
That was Hangman Page all this year.
Yeah.
Right?
He lost a lot of big matches.
True that. Right.
He lost a lot, and he still ended up main eventing All Out with me. No belt. No championship.
I mean, dude, it's Lakers Celtics, is Duke, North Carolina, Alabama, Auburn, and Swerve and Hangman, dude.
Earlier we were talking about bad blood and Drew McIntyre having a valid reason for acting the way he did and people booing him. You are on the flip side of this, and I want to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
You did some diabolical things to Hangman Page.
Horrible.
You broke into the man's crib. Like you
stared at his baby.
You disrespected his gate.
That was an ugly baby, by the way. That's something I never got to get across.
You went in there and you just did some diabolical stuff. And then guess what? Next week, everybody's cheering Swerve.
That Swerve's a good guy.
And I'm like, yo, it's like we talked with the Punk about, like when Flair and Steamboat were going at it, and Flair's got the robes and the limos and the women.
Yeah.
Steamboat's trotting out his wife and his baby as a family unit, and the Philly crowd was like, boo this man. We're cheering Flair. Like, you broke into a man's crib, you disrespected his gate, and you became a bigger star because of it. And it's just like, that is wrestling in a nutshell.
It was the Slinky effect. It was that moment made me brought me up here, and then my success brought Hangman back up again.
No doubt.
And now Hangman's back up here and he's tearing through again. And like that's what you want to do. Like this, like the Slinky, you propel each other up by their actions. I don't never just do an action just for that action alone. There has
what's the lead?
What's the leading, and what's the here's the reaction. How do you react? How would we react to that? What's something that's sentimental to me? The Swerve character. Even all that horrible diabolical stuff I've done, there's still a human in there that still has sentiment and values. And now Hangman, it took a while, but Hangman found it. Yeah. And it was my home. Yeah. Me buying back the home with my success. With my success, it brought something else out of Hangman to take that away from me. And now it brings me back into here. It brings me back. Because now what's sentimental, what was sentimental is funny because it's like the sentimental thing with Hangman was his family, his home. And now we're very similar because the sentimental thing for me was my family and my home, me doing a gesture for my family and home. So we're very similar, but we're very opposite at the same time.
And for those who don't know, you, along with the help of Prince Nana, you bought back your childhood home that you grew up in. It was just a beautiful moment. You guys put a video out early in the afternoon, which immediately made me go, yo, something bad's about, because I've been watching, like, the spidey senses tingling. I'm like, oh yeah, Hangman's going to be waiting in the bedroom just to jump you. No, what happened was far worse than that. The man burned your crib to the ground, man.
Sitting in the couch that was actually still in that house too. It was like the couch that I grew up in. Like that couch, I remember that couch fondly.
man.
Yeah. And he sat
I
right
love
in
that
it.
you seeing Swerve in a peaceful moment was a red flag.
It was a red flag. I'm like,
hold
I
on,
just,
something right.
because the video came out, like I said, it was in the middle of the day. It dropped on social, I'm pretty
Right.
sure. And I was like, why? Well, no, man. I'm like, he's too happy. Something bad's about to happen. And sure as
Look at the world we live in. He's too happy.
Like,
I don't like this at all.
Wasn't I didn't like it. I just felt like something bad's about to happen, man. Like,
smells of trauma.
right? This is too beautiful of a story.
like that was like one of the first few times you really see me like smile with joy rather than like smile with like, torment.
That
You know?
intent.
So we talked about your childhood home. Maybe we could jump back a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
talk about the beginnings of Swerve Strickland. You know, you mentioned you're from Washington, military family. Your family moved all over. You ended up growing up sometime in Germany.
Yes.
What was that? What was that like for you?
It was lovely. I was like, I didn't have like a rough growing up or anything like that. Like my story isn't like that. Like some people have this story of like, oh, like I grew up with nothing and like this. Like I've had good moments and I've had some bad after my parents' divorce, and there were some like tough moments, but I was never like I grew up with nothing or like came from the slums. Like I had a pretty good childhood growing up. Were we rich? No, but we were very happy and we were all together. Me and my older sister. We had everything we really like could need. In the military, it was like we lived in on base, on the American base and all that. So it was like I remember this, like we lived a couple different homes, but there's one specific block I always remember was this cul-de-sac. And it was just like all the kids like knew each other, all the families, parents knew each other. It's great because like oh, so and so's home, like oh, where's your dog? Like oh, your car's like everybody kind of like lets each other know. But people left their house, the doors were open, and kids would just go in, run in together, get snacks, and then run back out, go back out to play.
It's mini community right there.
Yeah, you know, that's what I remember like mostly, and I remember like watching the tapes and stuff like that back, and I was like, I remember this exact. I remember that rug. I remember that TV. I remember that like all those little things. They still spark. They're still up there in my head.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about Sparks.
Man, too soon.
TJ,
Too soon.
I'm just saying.
what's going on with you today? You gotta align your chakra, bro.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, were y'all this rough on Phil? Did Phil get any of this? Damn, Phil.
I ain't being rough. I told you. I felt bad. I felt nervous. I was scared.
Let me pick
bro.
at you. let me. Yeah, but it was a really good childhood growing up. I like when parties. My mom and dad would throw parties in the living room, and I would just like be on the stairwell watching everybody, and I would go up. My mom tells me the story to everybody all the time. I would go up in the room and I would draw the party on the wall. So like whatever I was seeing, I would draw it. Whenever I was whatever I could imagine, I would just draw it.
Right.
And I don't draw as much anymore, like at all. It's been a long time, but that was the only way I could put my imagination out. I didn't know another way to do it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't music. I wasn't musically inclined at the time. It wasn't acting. I didn't do plays or anything like that. So I was like, drawing in video games was my only way to express myself, and toys. I would make toys and stuff. I literally figuratively making them at like 4 years old. It was really weird.
Dude's got vision, bro.
Yeah, but I just didn't know what to do with it. I didn't understand. I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't call it art. It just was like fun.
This is what I do.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
And my cousins made fun of me because like, why is he so awkward and weird? And they was like, oh, he's just to himself.
I'm in my own world.
Yeah, and that's what I was. I would be in my own world, creating my own world, but nobody else would really understand and get it. Like my parents, my mom she was like, oh, he's doing, and they would connect the dots as I was like doing it. But like, I don't know. Those are just my childhood as far as like me. I was just like, oh, I had fun times just making my own fun. And that's what kids don't really do anymore.
Yeah.
They don't make their own fun. They're like, go upstairs in your room and like, you know, no iPad, no video game, no TV. Just figure it out.
Yeah, good luck.
It's gotten to the point in my life where I'm like, man, what did I used to do?
Yeah.
What did I used to do before I had my phone and I just had to be out? And it's just like, talk.
Like, he was out in the street.
Like I got two girls, but they're older now. They're way past that stage. They're like 15 and 13.
Oh, yeah.
Now. So I'm like, oh, they're way past like figure it out. Like now they they know exactly what they want. They know where they want to go. They know how to get it. Like, so, I miss like teaching them how to create.
Yeah.
Now they're in their own creative process in a way, which we could still nurture. I could still point, but I still got to figure out who they are. They're figuring out who they are as well. But like as a parent, like as a kid and stuff, I just had a lot of fun. And my dad got me into football. Played football a lot. Played soccer a little bit too. When we got back in the States, but it was football. Yeah.
American football.
Yeah.
Anybody who watches.
Yeah.
But so when did wrestling come into play? Like, your fandom or just jumping right into it? When did wrestling find you?
If I could jump in, even before you got into wrestling, though, you enlisted, right? Before you started your wrestling journey, you enlisted. And
2 weeks after I graduated high school, I was on a bus.
2 weeks?
2 weeks. I didn't enjoy nothing.
Boy,
yep.
Me 2 weeks after high school was different.
It was just getting
fun.
started.
It was a lot different.
No, I was like, I got to enjoy my girlfriend at the time, and then I got to enjoy my time with my dad in Buffalo for like a week. And he gave me the spiel like, hey, this is what you're going to do. You're going to run into some suckers in the Army, some people that try to go against the grain. But let me tell you something. The Army's been around for 400 years. It's never going to change, all right? It's never going to change. It ain't going to change. You ain't going to be the one to change it either. Let me tell you that right now. It's going to be the same. So this has been the same since I was in. It's going to be the same when you were in. There's no changing it.
Army not going to change.
And I was like, he put it that way, like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you gonna change the government? Okay,
right.
No, just do what they say, go with it, and it ain't gonna last forever. Just like give me the good straight to be. I'm like, yep, and got on the plane and flew down to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and that was the first time I was like 16, 17 years old, and I was like on my own, like I got to figure it out.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like so much that you were left on your own. It was like, oh, we're waking up at 4, report to this at this time. And you're not going there by yourself. You're kind of like lining up formation and everything. So you're like, oh, if I follow these instructions, I'm going to get what I need to where I go.
Yeah.
That's really it. That's what the military is. And then after you get out of that, you come home and like, that's kind of how the rest of life is too, in a sense. Like if you like, here's the guidelines, here's what you do. Just do it. How do people mess this up? I don't get it. Like you got to figure out like how are people messing this up? They like this is literally telling you what to do. So like and that was like 17 years old and then just sparked. I was like, I feel like okay, I can accomplish things now, and that's where like confidence really started growing in me as a person. Like I gotta learn how to shave.
How's that work?
Oh, that's it. Oh, that's not so bad. I used to be afraid of that.
Yeah,
but now the Army put me in a place where like no, you have to do this now. Like that's your regulation. Okay, I got to learn to do it. Like, oh, you have to have your uniform like proper. You got to dry clean it. You got to do this. You got to make your bed. You got to align your foot lockers and your locker and all that stuff. You need to learn organization. Okay, boom, did that. And I'm like, that wasn't so hard. I used to be like kind of worried about all these things, and now like I'm accomplishing them at 17 years old on my own. I can't call my mom. Yeah, like they take our phones away. We don't have them. Like you can't call anybody for help. You got like maybe you got a good bunkmate, maybe you don't. Yeah. And maybe you have an asshole drill sergeant, maybe you don't. But you got to figure it out. But the guidelines are there, and if you can't figure it out, struggle. Like there's a way to figure things out, and that's where like that carried over into wrestling. Man, things ain't going around the right way, and I was like, there's a way to figure this out. Yeah. I'm gonna figure it out. And I always kept that mindset through everything. I'm like, even when my kids were born, I was like 18. It was tough. I was scared. I was running from it a little bit, but then I was like, no, you buckle down. I can figure this out. Yeah. It's not easy, but it is a challenge. And with challenges, it takes time. Yeah. And it takes persistence and it takes consistency. Yeah. Like big time. Like challenges, you don't just solve them one time.
Pressure makes diamonds.
But you got to keep at it. You got to keep at it, and eventually it'll happen. But the military taught me that at a young age, and then right from that I went right into wrestling.
Yeah. So getting back to your question, you were 18 when you started training, right?
Yeah, 18. But like when I first got into wrestling, 12 years old. My sister, she had a friend that we moved into like the neighborhood. She's like, oh, my homegirl, she lives up the street. She has a little brother. So I walked with her. Like I was that age where like, oh, don't go nowhere without your brother.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, Stefan, here we go. All right. So it was like that thing. And so we walked over, like, and I met this one dude, the little brother, Quan, I think his name was, and he was putting in a tape of Armageddon. Armageddon Hell in a Cell. Yeah. It was the pay-per-view literally the night before. And he put the cassette tape in. I was like, the VHS tape. I was like, oh, snap. What's this? He's like, yeah, this pay-per-view I watched last night. I couldn't stay up, so we recorded it. Yeah. And then we watched it. So I was like, this is wild. And then he had the figures upstairs in the room. And then we would go down to the basement and we'd like actually do the matches and stuff. The figures, then we actually wrestle each other. Then we go to the yards and the fields, do matches out there. And then I moved away and then I came back. And I found a friend that I knew in middle school, but I moved away and then came back to high school, and that was that same friend in high school now. So he moved at the same time too. Okay. And I was like, and we were at the lunch table, and he's just like, oh, it's Stefan. Hey, what's going on, man? I was like, yo, good seeing you here, man. He's like, and like they had their little lunch table friends. He's like, this is so and so, this is so and so, this is so and so. And my big cousin Keith, he was part of the group, so we all found our little community.
Yeah. Not that Keith though. Definitely. No. Okay.
he was still big though.
Gotcha.
But they all started talking wrestling. I was like, oh snap, we watch yada yada yada, and then that's where I really got ingrained with that like lunch table friends. Like so every week, if you went to the lunch table and you didn't watch Chappelle's Show last night, or you didn't watch Boondocks the night before, or you didn't watch wrestling, you were like assed out at the table. You weren't part of the laughs, you weren't part of the conversation, nothing. So I was like, so you had to watch all those to be in on the group like laughs and stuff.
Yeah.
And the rest is history from there.
I got to hit my homie Desmond now. You just made me think of my crew.
Yeah. Like, who was your crew in high school? You had the table. Yeah. You had to bring something to the table, right? Though.
Yeah. Well, we had it was the homie Desmond, and shout out. I had a homie Nobotis. Wherever you are, bro.
What a name.
I know.
Nobotis.
Bro, he used to sell hot Cheetos at school. He was racking up. And Cool Bears, he was the man, bro. We had a
dude that used to, this was like in high school. There was a basketball team. He would go to the gas station across the street and would steal them and put them in his jacket and then sell them at.
I don't know how Nobody's got it. Yeah. But yeah, he was, bro.
He never asked too.
Yeah, bro. He'd have a nice bit of everybody else's money. Right. So, all right. So as a fan, this is something that we want to make a common thing around here is to ask as a fan, do you remember when wrestling broke your heart? Like a match that didn't go the way you think it should.
Eddie turning on Ray.
Oh, that's a good one.
Eddie turning on Ray was like, I really don't like this guy. That was like ripped his mask, bloodied brain buster on the steps. Yeah, left him there, and then walked out. Next thing you know, the like Latino heat, and it came out, and he just like stoic as hell. Yeah. I was like, I don't like this guy. Even though he's like one of the greatest to ever do it. Yeah. At that time, I didn't like that guy. Because I was a Ray guy.
After this will absolutely air when it does air, but it's Eddie's birthday today. Yeah.
Wow. What?
Yeah, it's Eddie Guerrero's birthday today.
Shout out that. What are the
one
odds?
of the greatest of all time right there.
What are the odds of that? That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Look at the universe right there. Yeah. That was crazy, too.
But like Ray was my guy. I'll never forget after that friend I was like hanging out with or whatever, I kind of stepped away from like watching wrestling for a little bit. Yeah. We got broke. Didn't have cable. Sorry.
It happens, people.
Like nothing hits like when you move into the new house and that Comcast cable box comes right on TV. Like, yeah, we're back. We're back, baby.
We're so back.
Yo. Like then you look at other broke people. You ain't got no cable.
I got some ice cream. You cannot have none.
Like, guess what? Dragon Ball Z came on last night and it was fire. But you can't watch Cartoon Network. Toonami not for you.
Been evil, bro.
Right? Like, look at
It's
these.
starting to make sense.
Yeah, right. It all adds up.
Yeah, drop out the bed. Look at these broke motherfuckers. So yeah.
That is spiteful, dude.
And then it got cut off again. But anyway, that's another story. But like that's why
Bounce back.
right. So like that was like the first SmackDown coming back was like Ray popping up.
Yeah.
And debuting, and I was like, man, like I remember my cousins talking about him back in WCW when we were younger.
Yeah.
But I never watched him, and he's like, he stole my heart. I was like, this is my guy, no matter what. This is
He's
my
the
guy.
man.
Every SmackDown game that came out,
Yeah. Using Ray.
Ray was first. Like no matter who, I'll play with everybody,
Ray was first.
but Ray was the first one. You got to start with Ray. For me, that was how it went on, and so yeah, that was like my. And ever since then.
But I remember getting in arguments with people whether his finisher was the 619 or the West Coast Pop. Like, we would get into full debate.
No, it's the full thing.
Yeah.
You gotta do this whole
You
combo.
gotta say the whole-
One leg to the other.
Yeah, you got to. You say the whole name at once.
Yeah, it's like a 1-2 punch, but like we here for the 619, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So as a Ray fan, then you must have been mortified when Kevin Nash threw him off of the production truck.
I wasn't watching that at that
you weren't
point.
watching?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Like I was
no,
like,
wow.
I'll
But
find
you've
that
se-
stuff later.
You've seen
Yeah.
it though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Watching
Threw
it
him
when
like
it
a
happened,
dart.
I was like, Kevin Nash just killed that man.
Yeah.
He threw him like a lawn dart.
Standard Kevin Nash thing to do, by the way. Crush dreams.
You know. Oh, you know what? No, it'd
Shout
be
out to
great.
Big Sexy.
It'd be great.
Shout
Come
out
on.
to Big Sexy.
Yeah. Let me throw you like a dart.
I was thinking about like convincing them to do it. I'm like, I wonder how that conversation went.
Right.
Come on, it'd be great. Come on.
Obviously, you know, if you're on the Twitter world, there's a common joke how Swerve was fumbled. You know, like you know, and there's a lot of people who have the it factor, and we during your time at NXT, we could see it in you. Is there anybody now that you want to big up that you see that just needs that opportunity? People that you're a fan of that you are in the business with now?
Oh, Cedric Alexander.
Yeah.
Big time. That's my brother. I was literally one of the groomsmen in his wedding.
Oh,
Him and Swole.
man. That's great.
Like when I moved to Florida, he was one of the people that really held me down. Like when we couldn't get a couch. Him and Malachi Black pitched in money for me to buy a couch for the apartment and everything. So it was like community couch type stuff. You know, I still got that couch to this day because like I will never get rid of it because of that. You know, so Cedric was like instrumental in me, like that little space in between them, like taking it to the next level on the indies, not as kill shot, but on the indies. It was working with Cedric. I had like 2-3 matches with him on the indies, and that's where it was like, okay, I'm figuring it out, I'm getting it and stuff. Yeah, but Cedric is so much raw, unadulterated talent in that man. And even with himself, I think he's still nervous to fully express himself. But you never get that until you push him and give him that open time. And I think he needs that.
Yeah.
I think he needs that. And like they just re-signed him for like another 3 years. So like you invest in him.
Yeah.
You showed that investment in him. And I want to see more investment in him. Because there's a lot of people that can learn from him. And there's a lot that the fan base can like learn from just watching him. And I still want it for him so bad. That's like a brother a name that I don't throw out too much often, but like yeah, Cedric for sure. And shout out EJ and Dunka as well.
Okay.
He has a lot to offer, and he's hungry.
You guys been training together, right?
Yeah, major training. You know, and he has a lot of that like I wanna prove to the world, not to like anybody specifically. Just like I just want to prove it to the world that he knows how good he can be and what he can offer. And I see it in him too. I talk to him, have these conversations, and he's dedicated. At week in and week out, day in, day out, he's on it. Whether training or in the ring, he's training and he's working on it. So, like, pay attention to him and Lee Johnson in Ring of Honor when they doing their thing, you know, because like y'all like the fan base, if there's anything I can say to the fan base, if you have guys that you like and your favorites, you know, like, oh, I like EJ a lot. I'm like, watch them. Like, don't wait for them to watch, for them to get on TV to watch them. Watch them where they're at now.
Yeah, watch them now
and
build them up.
then help push them to where we want them to eventually go to. But don't just like, oh man, I'll wait till he gets up to AEW. I'm like, no, watch him in Ring of Honor. And like,
that
watch
process move.
Yeah, you can be responsible for that. Yeah. Y'all were responsible for me getting my opportunities because y'all
snowball effect.
Yeah, but like watch them at where they're at, and then help push them and catapult them. The fan base does that.
Yeah,
you know.
You mentioned Kill Shot, so that makes me want to go back. 2014, you signed with Lucha Underground. We really hadn't seen anything like Lucha Underground. Let's talk about your time there and your experiences and what you learned being a part of.
Like I said earlier in the interview, a challenge. Yeah. It was a challenge. That's one of the most competitive rosters that you'll ever see in wrestling. Yeah. And AEW is like that too, in a lot of senses. But like Lucha Underground is just like filled with like the premier like athletes from Mexico, from America, from Canada, from UK. Everybody was coming in a melting pot, and we were trying to figure it out. Like, what can we create? Because now the universe is endless. We got time travelers, we got dragons. Like, people can die and come back to life. Like Brian Cage is punching people's faces out. Like it was crazy. So like we can really stretch this as far as we can. It's nothing we can't do. So that is where like the challenge was like, okay, I'm not a luchador because I can't lucha as good as Aerostar. I can't lucha as good as Phoenix. I'm not going to. There's no way. I'm not going to out lucha those guys. I can't flash as good as John Morrison or Johnny Mundo at the time. You know, like I can't fly higher than Puma. I can't jump further than Angelico. Like so
can anyone jump further than Angelico?
No, because he got it all. He got it all. Like that moment, it was like boom, that changed everything for Lucha. It was like that moment opened up the doorway for like what's possible in that temple, and that was like wow, that really is where it took like everything over the edge. So like shout out to Angelico for that moment because that's what I think that moment bust Lucha Underground wide open to like. Wow, what can really happen on this show?
Now, he was on the balcony, right? I remember watching.
He did it twice. He did a running, jumping crossbody, and then they had the ladder match for the trio size. He did a running, jumping drop kick.
That's right.
So, like, which is crazy on the body, both of them. Insane. Y'all talk about me and what I go through. That is insane. That's a lot. That's like pushing the body's limits. That's parkour on television. Like what these guys are doing, like on the street, like he was doing that in the ring. He took it to that level. Now you're seeing where the parkour is like the level it's at now is the same thing. Like I would say it's very synonymous with one another. So with that, it's like, okay, here's my challenge. How do I fit into this? Where does a kill shot military character lie in a universe? Like that's mystic, that's time traveling, that's characters passed down through centuries, then a Mil Muertes, then a Matanza coming in.
Monster Matanza.
Like, how do I punch through this? And so, like, they put me in a program one week with Marty the Moth. And I was like, Marty, what can I do with Marty? What can I do with Marty? What can I do with And it's not even like, what can I do with Marty? What can Marty do with me? And what would these two characters' interactions be like? Take away the ring. How would they just interact? Like, he's a big child. He's a big child and he wants to be involved. Like, he wants toys. He wants to collect. I'm a toy. I'm an action figure as a military character. And I went the military character because I didn't want to be a part of the Lucha heritage. Yeah. I wanted to go somewhere like I'm like an outsider coming into the Lucha heritage. So that kind of like put me on a different plane. And I wrote the whole character. And he was like, and so like we had the thing is like he sees me as a toy, as something you can play with. I'm not someone you play with.
Yeah,
I'm a weapon of mass destruction. So, what do I have that he would want? My dog tags. I put a token around the dog tags. Oh, he took that from me, and we did a little back and forth. But they wanted to cut the story right there. I was like, me and him went to the Krista Joseph, who was writing the show. I was like, can we fight to a DQ and he keeps the dog tags and we keep running with it? And they were like, actually, yeah. Yeah. Line through the script. And they gave it to us. Same amount of time, but we just gave it. We wanted more. And I think one of the key elements to like booking and convincing a booker in every element is when two people collab and want to do it together.
Right.
I think that always helps.
Yeah.
Instead of like one person talking and then the other person talking and going behind the back talking and then they're going behind the, and then now they got to pull them into the room and make it work.
They see both sides believe in it.
Yeah. No, I don't want to beat him. I think we should do this. Can we do that? Yeah. If you guys agree with it, then they know they're going to get the best product on camera.
Makes sense.
When two guys know that this is what they want to do. And I want to make him better. I always want to make, also one of my big things, I always want to make my competitors bigger than me, stronger than me, faster than me. They always have to be better than me in something. I have my skills that I have to overcome that, but they always got to be bigger, faster, stronger. With Marty's case, I found the key element of like, what if I'm one who doesn't give up, but he's someone that won't go down? How does that clash? So it's like, bangs, chair to the head. He laughs it off and gets back up. Oh my God. Yeah. He throws me on some crates. Boom. He's laughing. I get back up too. He's like, why won't you stay down? And now I'm like, he won't stay down. So this is the same thing, but it's just two different ways we're saying it. So it's just like that clash of things of like that. And then when it got to the Dante Fox thing,
your Hell of War match?
Yes.
Which ESPN said was one of the, quote, most brutal contests ever televised in professional wrestling.
I was like, I challenge
what
that.
An honor.
but that's huge. And for that to be on like two African-American wrestlers, you don't see that often. You know, they always think like I said, there's this stereotype of like what you said earlier, you're talking about rapper's son. You're gonna come in with an entourage. They already stereotyped you and put you in a box before you even showed up, before you show your face. I think they do that with black wrestlers too. Like, okay, he's gonna be flashy, he's gonna have hip hop, he's gonna be this, he's gonna be that. Let's give him this, they already put it on you before you actually show who you are. Ours was like nothing hip hop. We were two military people that have a brotherhood with each other that aren't flashy, like character wise, but we're direct. We want to hurt and we want to kill and we know each other. So it was like very far left of what the depiction is, the stereotype that's already out there, or like what's very common. So I think that's another reason why that stands the test of time still, is because we're not seeing like two black wrestlers performing as black wrestlers. We're seeing two fighters. We're seeing two soldiers. We're seeing two killers go at each other, regardless of color. Those guys, we could have been any ethnicity, and you would have still got that same effect. You know, it doesn't change the story at all. But
just the brutality of that.
The brutality is what takes it over. And like the fact that like he knows me, I know him, tit for tat. I can do it, but he does it better. I can do this, he does it better. I can do this, I can pick him up, but he's stronger. It's like now it's just like someone who's just topping you at every single move because we know each other, and he's the big brother that you just can't take down until one day you eventually overcome and you take him down. It's Wolverine Sabretooth.
Wow, okay.
This is the best way to put that.
So how'd that feel at the end when you finally got that ambulance door?
I was like, it's over.
Right. I was about to ask, what's the next day like?
Because it's something we talk about wrestling. We appreciate you guys and you ladies putting your bodies on the line, but sometimes you sit there and you feel you don't think you had to do that. And that's how that match was. You guys did some things to each other that was tough to watch.
Once again, it was that challenge. We met the challenge, and we wanted to just not meet it, but we wanted to just blow it out of the water. This is Ultima Lucha. You know, the year before, the main event was like Puma and Ray killed it. One of the best matches I've ever seen live to this day. Then that was the bar. Like, okay, how do we smash through this bar? And how do we make this unforgettable that like just travels with us? And when the match was like put together, it was like, do we have enough? Do we have enough?
Insane.
Kind of too late.
Yeah,
Gotta go with it.
let's just do it.
Right.
Yeah, so like it was one of those things. It's like it's like you making a painting and you're just like looking at it side, and then you're like, does it need more?
Right.
Like if I gotta do that, it's fine the way it is. So we left it, and then like we just let the performance just seep through. That's what's going to take us over the top. The fact that like we know why these guys are here, we know why they're trying to hurt each other, and we're here for the spectacle, but we're also here for the emotional tie. It's almost like the finish was just like very Shakespearean of like, I didn't want to do this to my brother, but I said, no man left behind. Pick him up. I put him in the ambulance. Boom. Because I'm not going to leave you for dead.
Right.
Like why we started this in the first place. You always end the way you started. And like, do I close that or do I leave it open-ended?
Right.
And then, funny you said, what do we like the next day?
Yeah.
Well, that night I went to a Lil Wayne concert at Staples Center.
Oh, word.
Wow.
Wow, boy.
Me and Famous B, shout out Famous B, went to because we bought them tickets like a month, 2 months ago.
Oh, yeah, he was going
I
regardless.
was like,
yeah, no,
but I was like, oh snap, I got to do a Hella War match.
Yeah.
Oh snap, I gotta go. So I'm like, we parked like up the street, and I'm like. Up the street, limping, blood going down the bandage, going to the Staples Center, and like him and 2 Chainz headlined it. It was fun. But the next day, which remember we taping like blocks, so it airs a week later.
Yeah.
So on TV it was a week later, but the next day we had to have the trios tag title match.
Oh no, man.
And
we
that's
gotta work
where
on
we
the
won
scheduling.
And then we won the trios titles, but we're like falling apart.
Yeah.
The band, like Fox is bleeding all over again in the back. We're bandaged up, and like so like it aired a week later, but really it was the next day.
That's nasty.
And if people haven't seen that match, do yourself a favor, check it out on YouTube. Kill shot against Dante Fox, Lucha Underground.
And I mean,
war match.
with an intimate venue like that, you gotta be kings after that.
Right.
Like you're like,
Man, that following season is like, oh, this is so much easier. I don't got to earn it anymore. I earned it. Like now it's like they hear that name and everybody stands up. That's what you want. But like then people wonder like, why you do this to yourself? You do it for that.
Yeah.
You do it because like no matter
rush.
what, we earn that.
Yeah.
And because like I remember like that building is so like it's part of the ring. Like jumping off of this, doing that, going through the office window, coming here, going like
office window.
like
Office window
the
is
entranceway, the band playing up top. You can fall.
stairs,
It's all a part of like that's a part of the character of the show as well. So like being like changing in the room behind you is the wall. You're sharing the same wall with the fans, and so there's
You hear all that.
so you're feeling it and rumbling through while you're changing and stuff. It feels like you ever watch a Monkey Man.
Yeah,
Monkey Man?
just
Like being how he's changing, you're still hearing the people just rumbling. It feels like that.
Okay.
Like so,
That's nuts.
Lucha Underground and Monkey Man. That element is just like it's almost like Ungbox type of the underground feel, and like that coloring the filter over it.
The filter over the film.
Yeah. That's what I always like reminisced with it. I connected it with those movies.
I know. I know. It always cut off right when it's getting good. I understand.
It's like an old episode of UWF back in the day. Every episode would end with Jim Ross going, "Oh my God, we're out of time. See you next week." It was always like that. We're like the UWF of podcasts. I think.
Like it only hurts when it's a good episode. But we will continue and we will give you guys part 2. In part 2, Swerve talks about, what it means to him to be the first black AEW champion. We also get into that contract. It's pretty lucrative
historical contract.
Quite historical. They don't say they numbers like they make actors do. But anyway, so we're getting into that. And obviously our standard questions here at No Contest Wrestling. We're asking him, his Hall of Fame matches.
3 of them.
His 3 Hall of Fame matches now that he's part of the No Contest Wrestling Hall of Fame. And also, my favorite question, give me 4 wrestlers to get you out of that bar. Right. That bar fight, that 50-man bar fight.
Which, by the way, that question has blown up on all of our socials.
It's a fun question.
It's a fun question because everyone's got their, and we're seeing, I think what people have to understand is he didn't have a time to think about this.
No.
We hit him with it. And I think he was thinking more people who were here right now. He wasn't thinking about going back in time.
Yeah, we don't do all time.
But I have it. We'll maybe get into that later.
There.
But for right now, it's like we were looking at the current people. He can reach it. He can't get Harley Race from 75 right now. He just can't.
Hey,
do
the
it.
more we get some legendary guests, legends got to go all time.
That's true.
But we'll get into that. And also, guys, we deal with hypotheticals all the time.
No doubt.
A hypothetical question is like a guy's lead to conversation. So that's where that question comes from. He answers that in a lot more. Thank you, Swerve Strickland, for part one and part two. Make sure you guys come back to the
thanks for not turning on Nana too.
Yeah, bro. TJ was stressed.
I was.
This is the No Contest Wrestling Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Peace.